Hello everybody, my name is Vikas and today we're going to discuss a really important topic which is the essay structure for IELTS writing. Keep in mind this is a tried and tested essay structure, so feel free to make a note of it and practice as you please. Now I have covered some other aspects that include some tips and tricks as well as question prompts that you could expect during your IELTS examination. So feel free to check it out. If you do have any questions or queries, feel free to leave a comment below. Without wasting any further time, let's dive straight in. Now, the essay structure generally contains four parts. Now, of course, you could split it into five or even consolidate it into three. But the general practice is that you stick to a four-part essay structure. Now, on a high level, you basically split your essay structure into introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and conclusion. Now, I know that a lot of us do understand, how to structure our essay, or uh, everybody has this basic idea to know that you should split your essay into three or four different parts, but you're not exactly sure as to what exactly to write in each paragraph. So what we're going to do here is we're going to run through the basic skeleton of the essay structure that will help you understand what you need to write in the introduction, what you need to write in the paragraph 1, what you need to write in paragraph 2, and what you need to write in the conclusion section. Keep in mind, I'm going to explain each of these parts with an example. All right. So feel free to make a note of the skeletal structure. You could use it across any question prompt. Okay. Now you will have to slightly modify it to your language skills and also the question prompt, of course. But this general structure does work for most of the question prompts. Now, the part one, which is the introduction. All right. What I'll do before getting into the details is let me just quickly run through a question prompt. Now, for those of you who want to practice this writing essay, you could pause the video, make a note of this question prompt, and write your essay and put it in the comment section. I will help you invigilate it. All right. Now, the question goes something like this. The growing number of overweight people is putting a strain on the healthcare system in an effort to deal with the health issues involved. Some people think that the best way to deal with this problem is to introduce more physical education lessons in the school curriculum. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, let's get back to the essay structure. The part 1 introduction. In the first sentence, you write a background statement. If the essay is about education, you give a basic, background statement about how important education is, or, just talk about high school or middle school or, just college or, degrees in general, right? So I'm just going to run you through the skeletal and then I'll give you the example answer for the question prompt that I just showed here. Okay. So the first sentence is basically where you write a background sentence, meaning you just give a background about the topic that is asked about. The second sentence is for you to rewrite the question prompt in your own words. Remember, guys, you don't write it as it is, you rephrase it in your own words. All right. The third sentence is basically where you put in your point of view or make your position clear. What I mean by this is one of the most important tips with essay structure with essays is that you make your position clear. Meaning, when it is an agree or disagree kind of an essay, you make sure that you stick to one point. Meaning, you either agree with the point or you either disagree with the point. You cannot, stick to a neutral stance saying that I do agree and I also disagree. That's just not going to work out. You have to put your point across and make it clear to the examiner that you either agree to the point or you either disagree to the point. So again, reiterating, sentence 1 of the introduction is basically where you give a background statement. The sentence 2 will basically it's where you rewrite the question prompt in your own words. The third sentence is basically where you put in you put in your point of view. You could start saying that this essay will discuss or argue or explain why obesity is a problem across multiple nations, and how it's putting how it's jeopardizing the healthcare systems across different countries. Now let's dive into the part 2, which is the paragraph 1. Now, in sentence 1, what you do is you basically outline your main idea, meaning you reiterate or you write down what you're going to talk about in this particular paragraph. Meaning, if you are going to say that, hey, you do agree that obesity is causing an issue to the national healthcare systems, you just put it across in your own words, right? In the sentence 2, you reason why you support this. You basically say, obesity has created so and so problems, so that's why I support this idea. And in sentence 3, you provide an example or evidence. It's completely okay to provide made up statistics. You can say that, about 60% of the population now faces obesity issues and so on. So now these statistics may not be accurate. Don't blow it overboard, but make it sound very realistic, and provide an example. In the sentence 4, you basically link back to the main idea and you rephrase the main idea. All right. Now, reiterating the paragraph 1, you outline your main idea, reason why you support this idea, provide examples or evidence. Like I said, it's okay to provide made up statistics. In sentence 4, you link back to the main idea and rephrase your main idea. Now, you might not entirely get it at this point in time. I will, however, reiterate this entire skeletal with an example answer that I have. So stick on. Now, let's move to the part 3, which is, sorry about this, this will be your paragraph 2. Now we know the skeletal of paragraph 1. It is very similar to paragraph 1. Here you just, you either add on to the points that you mentioned in paragraph 1, you continue to support your ideas, or you give a contradicting, you give a contradicting insight, or you just either look into the other aspects of the question, basically. Now, the reason why, I told you to look at other aspects of the question is because some essays clearly state the different aspects that you need to cover. Now, the reason why I'm stating this point is because one of the most important marking criteria is that you cover all aspects of the question. Meaning, if an essay has about 3 or 4 different points, you make it a point that you cover all the 3 or 4 different points. Now, this is really important because the examiner marks you on one of these criteria where he knows that you've covered all parts of the question. Okay, so moving on. So in sentence 1 of paragraph 2 or the part 3, what you do is you basically provide insights into other aspects of the question, or you either provide more details as to why you support this idea. You could do either one of it. Now again, it is subjective to the question prompt that is presented in front of you. Sentence 2 will again talk about the reason why you provided. So basically you add on to what you to your supporting ideas, or you cover other aspects of the question. In sentence 3, you provide an example or evidence. Now, again, paragraph 2 is going to be very similar to the paragraph 1 in terms of the skeleton or the structure that you're going to use. However, the content is going to entirely differ. Okay. Now, in sentence 4, you basically just close back and you provide insights to the sentence 1 that you gave. Basically, the same thing as you've done here. You basically, in the sentence 4, you closing link back to main idea and you rephrase your main idea. That's pretty much it. Okay. Now again, paragraph 1 and paragraph 2, which is part 2 and part 3 of your essay, will basically have the same skeletal structure. However, you will go ahead and provide different insights or cover different aspects of the question. That's pretty much it. In part 4, you write the background statement, meaning you're going to conclude. So you basically rephrase what you agreed upon or what your main idea is. And then in sentence 2, you mention this essay discussed basically where you reiterate what you've written in paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. And in sentence 3, you could basically stick to this where you say, in my opinion, or in conclusion, and provide a conclusive statement. All right, so reiterating part 4, which is the conclusion, you basically write a background statement where you reiterate what you wrote in paragraph 1 and 2 in your own sentences, and or you give a holistic idea about what you mentioned across the essay entirely. And in sentence 2, you could again reiterate what you wrote in 1 and 2, or you could put it across in your own words. And in sentence 3, you basically start with the letter with the word saying, in my opinion, or in conclusion. In conclusion is generally better because the examiner is notified that, hey, you know what, this guy is going to conclude the essay. So in conclusion, and then you go on writing whatever you think is next. Now again, reiterating the essay structure. Part 1 part, so your essay structure contains about 4 parts, which is the introduction, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, and conclusion. Paragraph introduction basically is where you write the background statement, reiterate or rewrite the question prompt in your own words, and you will mention that this essay will discuss so and so and make your position clear, or give the holistic idea about what you're going to write in the next set of paragraphs, and make your stance very clear. Do not be neutral opinionated at all. Okay. And in paragraph, so the moving on to the next one, part 2, which is the paragraph 1, and part 3, which is paragraph 2, will basically have the same skeletal structure where you outline the main idea, reason why you support this idea, provide examples, and close it back. Okay. Part 2, of course, part 3 is of course the same as paragraph 1. Part 4 is the conclusion where you write a background statement. Okay, you mention what this essay discussed, and you end it with in conclusion. Now let's look at the question prompt once again. The growing number of overweight people is putting a strain on the healthcare system in an effort to deal with health issues involved. Some people think that the best way to deal with this problem is to introduce more physical education lessons in the school curriculum. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, for those of you who want to write your own, who want to use this particular essay structure, feel free to pause the video, read the question prompt once again, and put across your essays in the comment section. Now, guys, there is no escaping practice. If you need to score well in the toughest part of IELTS, which is the IELTS writing, you absolutely have to practice, and there is no escaping this. And guys, like I said, this structure, right, is tried and tested. Of course, you will find it endorsed by a lot of other examiners as well, so or trainers as well. So feel free to use this, or if you're absolutely confident about your own writing styles, feel free to do it. But I know a lot of fluent or native English speakers who are really good with writing skills, but then they falter during their IELTS examination, and that's because they don't really have a structure first, and they're not addressing all parts of what the examiner is expecting out of you. It's not that you're a bad writer or anything. It's just that there's a particular there's a particular expectation that the examiner has that you need to fulfill to get some marks. So that's the reason why you need to stick to this. All right, without wasting time, let's get into the example 1. Okay, so what we've done here is, on the left hand side you will see the essay and on the right side what I've done is I've split it according to the structure that we've done here. So let's look at the first one, which is part 1. So in part 1, you write a background statement, rewrite the question prompt in your own words, and you will mention what the essay will discuss, or you'll put across your point very clearly. All right. Now this talks about Reading the question prompt once again, the final time. The growing number of overweight people is putting a strain on the healthcare system in an effort to deal with the health issues involved. Some people think that the best way to deal with this problem is to introduce more physical education lessons in school curriculum. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, introduction, write a background statement, rewrite the question prompt, and you will put your stance clearly. Let's see how that's done in the introduction. Now you write the background statement. Owing to the problems which a growing population of overweight people cause for the healthcare system, some people think that the key to solving this issue is to have more sport and exercise in school. Okay, so what you've done here is basically you've given a background statement, and then you basically rewritten the question prompt in your own words. You could also add some more details here as well, but sticking to very basic. So if you look at this entire sentence, which is close to three whole sentences, you will see that this is basically the question prompt rewritten in the writer's own words. Owing to the problems which a growing population of overweight people cause for the healthcare system, some people think that the key to solving these issues is to have more sport and exercise in school. I completely. The next or the sentence three is the essay will discuss or argue, where you basically put in your position clearly. Now, what I've done here is you've written that I completely agree that this is the best way to tackle the issue of the deteriorating public health in relation to weight. Now, what you've done is sentence one is basically given a background, sentence two talks about basically reiterating or rewriting the question prompt in your own ways, and the last sentence basically provides or gives an insight about what your stance of this essay is. That's pretty much it. Your introduction is done. Let's move on to paragraph 2. In paragraph 2, you outline your main idea, reason why you support this idea, provide example or evidence, and close back to the linking idea. Remember, outline, reason, provide example, close back. That's it. Let's see how that's done here. Paragraph 1. Firstly, dealing with issues surrounding obesity and weight problems is best solved by taking a long-term approach and introducing more sport and exercise in school. Okay, so what you've done here, is basically provided your stance once again, which is outline your main idea, meaning what you're going to talk about in this particular paragraph. Now you're going to give the reason why. This method, now that you've introduced your approach towards it, meaning that you need more sport and exercise in school, you're going to basically provide a reason. This method will ensure that the next generation will be healthier and will not have such health problems. At the moment, now you provided the outline, you provided the reason. Now you're going to move into an example, or basically just provide an evidence, right? At the moment, the average child in the West does sport possibly twice a week, which is not enough to counteract their otherwise sedentary lifestyle. Okay, so now this particular fact or example saying that the average child in the West does sport possibly twice a week is could possibly be a made up stance, or a made up example. You could also write thrice, or even just once, just to support your idea. Basically, you get the point, right? Now the last sentence is basically where you close back to the main idea and you rephrase your idea. However, by incorporating more sport classes into the curriculum as well as encouraging extracurricular sport activities, they will undoubtedly become fitter and more active. Basically, you're reiterating what you said in the first line. Now let's move to the paragraph 3, which is very similar to paragraph 1, where you provide insights, provide reasons, provide examples, and you close back. Let's see how that's done. Now, what we've done here is we've not given contradicting ideas, or we've not covered other aspects, because there is only one aspect to cover, where basically the examiner asks us, or the question prompts ask us that, The problem could be curbed by introducing more physical education lessons in school curriculum. Do you agree or disagree? There is no other point that I need to cover here. You could give some other examples as to why you disagree, but because we've made our stance clear, we're going to add on to what we've written earlier in the paragraph 1. Now, what you mentioned here is another point to consider is that having more sport lessons for children in schools will probably result in children developing an interest in exercise, which might filter through to other members of their family and have longer lasting effect. Now, basically, you've outlined what you're going to write here and you're going to add on. In other words, parents with sporty children are more likely to get involved in sport as a way of encouraging their children. By both parents and children being involved, it will ensure that children grow up to incorporate sport into their daily lives. This is certainly a natural and lasting way to improve public health. Now again, this is going to be similar to paragraph 1. It's just kind of added on to more points of what you've written. Now let's look at the last paragraph, which is the conclusion, where you basically write a background statement. You will mention what you discussed in the essay and you will conclude it by saying in conclusion. Let's see how that's done. In conclusion, right? Now what we've done here is you could have given some more points. I mean basically concluded it this way, where you basically wrote the background stating that more and more people are being affected by obesity as a problem. And you could also mention that in this essay we discuss how to curb this issue by introducing more sport lesson. And in conclusion, we believe that this is a long lasting solution to the existing problem of obesity, and by involving parents and children, we could conclude the health problems, or we could curb the health problems in the longer run. Let's see how that's done here in different words. In conclusion, to deal with an increasing population of unfit, overweight, changing lifestyle of the coming generation by introducing sport in schools is the easiest and most effective method to use. It's a very simple way of concluding. Now, of course, you could either write a background statement, or probably mention about other aspects of how we discussed in the essay, or you could directly start by saying in conclusion and end it. Now the reason why we've written in conclusion and concluded it is because we've already covered quite a bit of aspects of this question, and we are past the 250 word mark already. So I've started off with this conclusion. You could either stick to this. In case you're running out of words, you can also exaggerate your conclusion, or you could just simply start with in conclusion and start with it right away. All right, I hope this structure as well as this question prompt helped you. Now what I'm going to do as a bonus for you is I'm going to just simply mention another question prompt, and I'm going to read out the answer for you. You could feel free to pause the video at this point in time and make a note of this question prompt and see how you want to write it, and put it in the comments below. I'll help you invigilate it. Nowadays, more people are choosing to socialize online rather face to face. Is this a positive or negative development? I definitely think it's a negative development. Let's see how that's written here. What I've done here again is mention the essay on the left hand side and mention the skeletal structure on the right hand side. Okay, right. Let's look into this. The introduction. An increasing number of people meet and talk to their friends online instead of in person. In my opinion, this is a negative development which can lead to isolation, potentially harmful situations, and also problems later in life. What I've done is basically reiterated or rewritten the question in my own words and made my stance clear, saying that, you know what, this is a negative development and I'm not for it. In paragraph 1, we use the same skeletal structure where we basically rewrite. What we do here is basically just outline the idea, provide a reason, provide examples, close back to this. What we've done in our introduction is basically write a background statement, rewrite the question, and just provide your stance clearly. Okay. All right. Now we're moving into the paragraph 1. One serious problem that can arise from people socializing online is that it can lead to isolation. Before the internet, people would frequently go out to meet friends For example, in cafes, bars, or restaurants, whereas now people prefer to stay at home alone chatting online. As a result, people are starting to spend the majority of their time alone at home in their room without meeting others. Isolation of this kind is not healthy and can sometimes lead to depression and other issues. This is certainly true. Now, again, what we've done basically here is we've reiterated, we've given a stance of what we think or given a background of what this essay is going to talk about, and then we've given examples of how we would earlier meet in cafes, and now we're just sticking to being at home, and what are the issues that it can cause. Now, this is also an example of cause and effect kind of an essay. I've covered other aspects as to how you could look at question prompts in another video, so feel free to have a look at it. Now, moving on to paragraph 2, another issue. Now, again, because I do not want to contradict my point of view at all, what I've done is I've provided another point where it adds on to what I've said in paragraph 1. Another issue is that meeting people online can be risky. In other words, people can assume fake identities online as well as hide their true characteristics. This is particularly concerning for teenagers who are impressionable and can easily be led into dangerous situations. Furthermore, as this interaction is online, parents have no way of monitoring it and protecting their children. Now I'm going to start concluding it. Now this is optional, of course. I've just kind of added on to, give more words to my essay. You can avoid it, or you can directly start with the conclusion, like I told you earlier. Let's look at the conclusion. Finally, socializing online can end in difficulties years later, as conversations and shared photos that have been forgotten reappear. This situation is currently critical for many people, again, and especially for teenagers who do not think carefully before posting online. In conclusion, although it has become more popular for people to socialize through the internet, it has become about too many problems with this to be considered a positive trend. So that's about it, guys. What I've done here in this particular video is basically given you an essay structure and helped you with example question prompts and answers. If you have any questions or queries, feel free to write in the comments. I will be more than happy to help you. Thank you for your time today.